Giving Tuesday is all about celebrating generosity. And we're here to tell you that you have a chance to give back to a local nonprofit that means something to you. Boise State Public Radio is giving away $1,000 in on-air messaging to 2 randomly selected organizations that are nominated by you, our podcast listeners. Let's work together to uplift and give back to other nonprofits in Idaho by visiting us online at boisestatepublicradio.org to nominate your favorite nonprofit.
From the studios of Boise State Public Radio News, I'm Gemma Gaudette. More Idaho Matters right now. Author Ann Rose is back with her latest novel, The Seemingly Impossible Love Life of Amanda Dean. And we are lucky enough to have Ann joining us now to talk more about her new book. And really nice to have you on the show.
Oh my gosh, it's so great to be here. Thank you again for having me.
Oh, it is our pleasure. All right. So give us a brief synopsis of this new novel.
Oh, okay. This one, I can do this, actually. So believe it or not. So The Seemingly Impossible Love Life of Amanda Dean is about Amanda Dean, and it's the day of her wedding, and everything is already going wrong. So she is convinced this must be the beginning of the end of another disastrous relationship. So we kind of flash back and forth through her life, getting to witness some of these past loves in her life, all while simultaneously trying to figure out who it might be waiting for her at the end of the altar, or at the end of the aisle. So
where did you get the idea for this book? I mean, because it really is kind of a flashback on her romantic life leading up to her wedding day.
Right. So I love romance novels. Okay. I love them. I think they're fabulous. But I think that a lot of times what we see is always the best pieces of them. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I really liked this idea of getting to see how messy love is. And also how many different types of love there are. So Mandy has lots of different loves in her life. They're not just romantic love. She has platonic love, and there's parental love, and there's friendship love, and all the things. So I really took all the things that I love about love and wanted to put them all down into one book. I don't know.
Oh, well, and there are a couple of lines in the book that really struck me. And one of them is on page 69. And this is the quote. She had many flaws and had made so many mistakes, but someone who's never failed never truly learned either. And that really resonates, right? Whether it's your romantic life, whether it's your professional life, whatever. I mean, I've kind of always said, look, I mean, especially in the broadcasting industry, if you haven't been fired, you haven't you actually just haven't succeeded. I mean, it's kind of part of the business.
Yeah, right. So I feel like it is not necessarily always in our successes that we find that we learn from them. We generally, as people, learn from our mistakes more than we learn from our successes. So rarely is there a time in our life where we sit back and be like, well, that was a great thing. That was so successful. What exactly did I do to make that happen? Whereas when you fail, you're like, oh, okay, what did I do wrong? How do I make sure that doesn't happen again?
Yeah, it's so interesting because what I tell my kids a lot of times is it's look, you are going to hear so many no's in your life. You just are. You're going to hear more no's than yeses. And it's not what you do with the yes that matters. It's actually what you do with the no that matters.
Yes. Yes.
And I really felt that with, reading about Mandy and it's like because she loves love. I think that's a big, she loves love, but it kind of gets her in some tight spots sometimes. So it's okay, what do you do when things don't go the way you were hoping?
Yeah, exactly. I think you understand Mandy better than me, maybe. I don't know.
I don't know about that. I don't know. Okay. So as you mentioned, this is not linear, right? It's not it's her wedding day and then she gets married and then they, honeymoon, all of that. These are flashbacks. And I mean, 1 minute we're in 2021 and then the next minute we're in the late 90s. Why was it important for you to really have these different timelines and these flashbacks to different relationships in her life?
So I think it's really important to understanding who Mandy is as a well-rounded person, right? So a lot of times the things that happen in our life, I mean, our lives happen generally linearly, right? But they aren't the most exciting when they happen that way. So in order to make the book feel a little more compelling as well, I kind of took those pieces and for plot reasons and pacing reasons, kind of meshed them around and flipped them around to try to give you those emotional highs and lows, and also just to get some like shots, snapshots of her life and like what she's been through to try to help you understand the decisions that she's making. There's like, and also I like that there's a little mystery involved. Like, it's not this straightforward, you know exactly who she's going to end up with in the end. So it kind of gets the reader involved. It's almost like the ultimate choose your own adventure, except that I still chose for you.
Right, exactly. So we should also talk about the fact that, you said, there's all different types of love in the book, and there is a queer storyline in the book. Again, that's not a traditional romance, at least like the rom-com romance novels that I grew up reading. But is that part of it? I'm just curious as to why you decided to add that aspect into the book.
Right. Well, I mean, I think that Mandy's bisexuality is kind of also what makes her her. Like, I believe truly that love is love, no matter in what aspect we see it. I think that seeing relationships can be all sorts of different things is really a key part to having this discussion of love and what it means and all the things. And later on, there's a conversation that Mandy has with her mom about that. And so I think that that's an important piece of the puzzle. I also think that it kind of ups the stakes of who is she going to end up with in the end as well. Like, so there's so many possibilities and so many things. And I think, representation matters, and having that representation here in this story really, really meant a lot to me.
I love this quote that she says about herself in the book. She calls herself a self-proclaimed bi disaster. And it made me laugh because I was like, oh, Mandy, I think you'd be a disaster no matter what your sexuality was.
She would. Absolutely. Yes. But she's going to own that bi disaster label, like, to the T. So
Yeah. So you normally write young adult novels. And why did you decide to go this route and take on this romance genre?
So I have written a couple YA books. They both have heavily romantic themes in them as well. But I guess one day I just kind of like woke up with this character in my head. I knew exactly who Mandy was. I knew her life. I knew her story. And I did something I never had done before, which is I actually plotted out her story before I started writing. I know, so weird. And I just kind of knew it as I started writing it. And one day I was just chatting with my agent and I'm like, yeah, I'm working on this thing, but you're probably going to hate it. And she's like, well, what are you doing? Because I never told her because I'm terrible. I'm a terrible client. And she's like, well, send it to me. And then she sent it. And she's like, okay, no, but this is really good. We should do something with this. And I'm like, oh, okay. Because I really just was writing it for me, for fun, because I really wanted just to have time and spend time with Mandy and her story and just live with her for a while.
I think that's so interesting about, like, you just woke up one day and she's, here's this character in your head. I mean, is that kind of part of your process with writing, is like you do just kind of find this character and you need to put them, like pen to paper?
I think that for me, at least, I can speak to myself, is that I get plot bunnies from anything. So I can get a plot bunny from opening a box of cereal. Like, I have so many ideas. I will never have time to write them all. I was chatting with a friend recently about a book idea, and she was like, are you sure you want me to give this away? I'm like, yeah, take it. It's yours. Like, you can have this idea, because I'll never have time to write all the things that are in my head. So I think inspiration comes from all sorts of things. Mandy just happened to come to me just one morning. Like, I just knew who she was and I just wanted to write about her. But I've gotten ideas from lots of different sources.
Well, and I really appreciated so much of her character. And again, there's another line that struck me, and because I think in particular when you are coming of age, right? Like she is, and all of that, and this looking back on her life, that in the book in page 170, she says the only person you need to make happy is you. It's really simple, but I think that, especially as I am raising, teenagers, that is something that I think, looking back on my life, it's very simple to say, oh yeah, no kidding. But it is a hard thing to not just learn, but to internalize and to really get to a point where truly the only happiness you are responsible for is yourself. And again, why was it important for, it's almost like she took a journey, going back through her life, trying to honestly understand that.
Yeah. I think that especially as women, we are told that everyone else's opinions matter, especially as women, right? And so I think it's so critical to have someone just flatly say, no, like you are not responsible for the actions or feelings of another person necessarily. So I just think that's, like you said, it's something that you can sit with and think about for a while, but really at the end of the day, we can't control how others think, feel, react to us. And so we just have to take responsibility for ourselves.
Well, what do you hope people take away from this book?
Oh my gosh, that's a tough question. I don't know. I hope they take away that love comes in many forms. I hope they take away that love isn't always easy and it's not always straightforward, and that's okay. I used to have like little headers on top of all the chapters that got removed before it went to publication and they were all Mandy's little loveisms. There's a meme somewhere or something floating around from my publisher, but like just, what are your own loveisms? It's not, as Mandy would say, love isn't like a t-shirt. It's not one size fits all. So that's kind of what it is. I hope it's fun. I hope people love her. I hope people can either see her as a mirror or a window into something that they haven't seen before.
She's a lovely, quirky character, and I thank you so much for taking time to talk with us.
Well, I thank you for having me. This has been excellent, so much fun, and I did wash my hair for this, even though you don't see me. So just so you know, I have clean hair. So thank you for making me wash my hair as well.
Hey, like I said, that is a big deal. I understand that. I wash my hair once a week. And no, people don't freak out about that. It's just that it's a lot. It takes a lot to wash all the hair on my head, and it's a 1 week thing, and it's a big event. So I completely appreciate that you took the time to do that.
That's how excited I was about this. So thank you, and you're welcome. So there you go.
Well, thank you. We've been talking with Ann Rose about her newest novel, The Seemingly Impossible Love Life of Amanda Dean. It is available now. I'm Gemma Gaudette, and this is Idaho Matters.
We could all use a little help navigating the news these days. The Consider This podcast wants to give you a hand. 6 days a week, we'll help you make sense of the day's biggest news story and what it means for you in less than 15 minutes. Listen now to the Consider This podcast from NPR.